For over 4 decades, one name has remained synonymous with gaming magic: Nintendo. From reinventing the living room in the 80s, to putting entire worlds in our pockets, to making movement part of the experience, Nintendo hasn't just played the game, they redefined it again and again and again. But today, something feels different. The launch of the Nintendo Switch 2 was supposed to be another leap forward, a new chapter in a legendary saga. Instead, it's become a turning point. With controversial pricing, divisive design choices, and a growing sense of lost identity, fans are asking an important question no one expected. Has Nintendo forgotten what made it special? This is more than just a new console. It's a test of trust, a battle between nostalgia and modern reality, and maybe, just maybe, the moment that redefines what Nintendo means in the 21st century. This is the full story. $80. That's a new standard for a first-party Nintendo game, at least digitally. For decades, Nintendo was the last big player resisting the industry trends of rising game prices. While Sony and Microsoft crept towards the $70 line, Nintendo held strong at $60, until now.
Will Nintendo drop the price?
Nintendo needs to drop the price.
Drop the price! Drop the price! Drop the price!
The backlash was immediate. Live streams derailed. Forums and social media flooded with outrage. Fans, both casual and loyal, asked the same question: why? Nintendo responded. The price, they claimed, reflects the value of the content. Mario Kart was called the richest Mario Kart experience yet. More features, deeper gameplay, better graphics, so a higher price. But for many, the improvements didn't match the price jump, especially when older titles like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom were simply repackaged and resold. In Europe, physical copies of these games are hitting nearly €90. In the UK, £75. In Japan, closer to $68 converted. Add that to local taxes, currency rates, and import duties, and suddenly being a Nintendo fan in the West feels like paying a premium for loyalty? Some retailers pushed back, quietly slashing prices to more palatable levels. But even those discounts couldn't erase the message fans had clearly heard out loud and clear. This generation will cost you. Is this just the cost of modern gaming, or is it something more? Nintendo once prided itself on being the family-friendly option, affordable, accessible, magical. But now, with premium pricing and optional $9.99 demos, fans are wondering if the company they trusted for decades is beginning to look like everyone else. And this is just the beginning. For generations, buying a physical game meant owning it. A tangible cartridge, a disc, a box you could hold. But now, Nintendo's physical games may not be so physical anymore. Enter the Game Key card, Nintendo's newest compromise between physical and digital. But for many, it feels like the worst of both worlds. Here's how it works. You buy a game in-store, it looks like a cartridge, but when you pop it into your Switch 2, it doesn't load the game, it triggers a download. And even though the game lives on your console, the card still needs to stay inserted to launch it. No card, no game. Even though nothing's actually stored on it. Nintendo says this format helps distribute large games at retail, especially when they exceed cartridge storage limits. It also allows physical purchases without the need for expensive, high-capacity media. And in fairness, yes, games are bigger, production is pricier, But this solution has stirred up more questions than answers. Collectors feel burned, preservationists are sounding the alarm, and fans are asking, what happens 10 years from now when Nintendo servers go dark? The game key isn't tied to an account, so it can be shared or resold, unlike pure digital games. But without any data on the card, is it just a glorified receipt? Adding to the mess, Nintendo isn't exactly being clear about which games use game keys and which don't. Some boxes now have a thin white banner or a footnote in tiny print. But to many buyers, especially parents or casual fans, it's not obvious until it's too late. Nintendo isn't alone. The industry is moving forward, a digital first, with fewer physical games each year. But for a company that once felt like the last holdout for true ownership, game key cards feel like the final nail. It's a key, yes, but it doesn't unlock the game. It just unlocks the future Nintendo has chosen. For decades, Nintendo stood apart. Where others followed trends, Nintendo broke them. The company built its legacy not just on great games, but on how you played them. So when the Switch 2 was revealed, many expected something new, something bold, something weird. Instead, we got looked familiar. A bigger screen, sharper resolution, a faster chip, more of what we know, just better. Even competitors weighed in. Former PlayStation executive Shuei Yoshida described it bluntly: Nintendo is losing their identity. To be fair, innovation hasn't always worked in Nintendo's favor. The Virtual Boy, the Wii U, big ideas, mixed results. But when it does work, it changes the industry. In a world of safe, powerful machines, Nintendo was the wild card, the one asking, what if we did it differently? So what does the Switch 2 say about Nintendo now? Are they playing it safe? Chasing specs instead of inventing play? This time there were no gasps, no laughter. To some, this is progress. A more powerful Nintendo console means fewer compromises. Better ports, smoother games, bigger worlds. Not every leap has to be strange. Sometimes it's about refining the magic. Still, for a company built on surprise and delight, what happens when Nintendo starts doing what everyone else does? In chasing parity with Sony and Microsoft, is Nintendo becoming just another console maker? Or are they just saving the surprise for later? Why are some fans paying more? It's the same console, the same games, the same box art, but depending on where you live, you're not paying the same price. In the US, the Switch 2 is launching at $449.99 USD. In Europe, €469.99. That's over 510 USD. In the UK, £395. In Japan, just under 340 USD. So why the huge gap? A few key factors explain it. Import tariffs, regional taxes, currency conversions. In the US, pre-orders were delayed due to uncertainty around renewed tariffs on imports from Vietnam and Cambodia, countries where Nintendo manufactures many of its components. Those tariffs range from 34 to 49%, a huge hit to profit margins, potentially passed straight to the consumer. In Europe, fans are paying some of the highest prices anywhere. A physical copy of Mario Kart can cost up to €90, and the console itself? Almost €470. Some call it a Nintendo tax. Others where the loyalty is being punished, not rewarded. The backlash isn't just about numbers, it's about value. Why is a re-released game more expensive than a brand new one last year? Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 edition is largely the same game, but now it costs nearly 30 euros more than it did on Switch 1. Retailers in Spain and Germany have begun to quietly offering discounts, bringing 98 euro games down to 70 or even 60 euro in some cases. But the damage may already be done. For many fans, the message feels clear. Where you live determines how much your nostalgia costs. A new console, a new generation, a new experience, and with it Nintendo's newest tradition, the Welcome Tour. Meant to showcase the Switch 2's features, the Welcome Tour feels like a soft handshake between old fans and new hardware. There's just one catch. This welcome, it's gonna cost you. Unlike the Wii's Wii Sports or the 3DS's AR games or even the Switch's Snipper Clips demo, Nintendo's new Welcome Tour isn't included with the console, it's sold separately for $9.99. The backlash was immediate. What used to be a gesture of goodwill now feels like a microtransaction at the front door. Bundled software used to be a sign of value, a way to say, welcome, let's play. But in this new era, that value is being sold piecemeal. For $449, buyers expect more than just hardware. They expect something to play out of the box. The demo itself is charming. Quick-fire games that show off new tech. Adaptive rumble. Improved Joy-Con precision, multi-touch responsiveness. But as the critics have pointed out, the features it highlights are mostly refinements of what the original Switch already offered. Some say it's just $10, not a big deal, but others see it as symbolic. A signal that Nintendo is shifting its philosophy from generosity to monetization. When a welcome costs money, what does that say about the house you're entering? A simple hello with not so simple price tag. How far can Nintendo push? For millions, Nintendo isn't just a company. It's childhood, it's family, it's home. It's the logo you trusted with your first controller. The sound you still hear when you close your eyes. But lately, something's changed. Loyal fans, once quick to defend, are beginning to ask hard questions. Not out of hate, but out of heartbreak. Some speak out of frustration. Others with disappointment. And some simply walk away. The magic hasn't disappeared, but it's being priced and papered over, one policy at a time. And yet, the same fans still show up. Because Nintendo means something. Because it's not just a platform, it's personal. A bond forged over generations of joy and nostalgia. This is the paradox of the fandom. The louder we protest, the deeper we care. We demand better because we believe Nintendo is capable of it. We criticize not to tear down, but to remind them who they are. The gaming world is changing. Costs are rising. Risks are higher. Even giants stumble. But for Nintendo, the stakes are always different. Because they're not just selling consoles. They're selling memories. Everyone has a line, and some fans are starting to reach theirs. The question is, will Nintendo listen before more cross it? Nintendo has always moved to its own rhythm, sometimes out of step with the rest of the industry and sometimes ahead of it. They've stumbled, they've soared, and they've surprised us every step of the way. The last few months have sent a message, not from shareholders, but from players. Fans are willing to support Nintendo, they want to, but only when the trust is mutual. Because no matter how strong the backlash, the passion has never faded. The Switch 2 isn't doomed. In fact, it might become one of Nintendo's best-selling consoles yet. The hardware is powerful, the games look promising, and the fanbase, while frustrated, is still here. These moments are still real, but Nintendo stands at a crossroad. One path continues down the road of high prices, closed systems, and aggressive legal action. The other? A return to what they made special. Surprise, joy, innovation, play. Nintendo's identity isn't gone. It's just waiting to be rediscovered. And maybe, just maybe, this rough beginning is the spark that will lead to somewhere greater. The fans have spoken, the critics have written, the backlash is real, but so is the love. Now only one question remains. Is Nintendo still listening?